on all social media platforms. We should start on YouTube in just a short while. Now, quite a few of you have already posted your queries, so I'm going to start right on the top. We've got Mahesh, who's asking a question about Sterlite Technologies. And this one is for you, Saurabh, because he's asking for a long-term view on the counter. He's pointing out that the company has a high level of debt, but it is in a space that is going to be highly active in the near future, the telecom supportive services or products space. What view do you have on this counter? Of course, there was a worry in terms of profit margins on account of competition from China. How do you see that panning out?
I think the kind of the order book they have gives a kind of a comfort in times of the revenue visibility. The margin compression which they have witnessed in the past few quarters is a real worry, and I think those worries are going, taking a backseat in terms of that margins are expected to now settle. The company management is quite confident of the future growth, and even the stock has moved a lot from the bottoms it has seen. So I think it is better to wait for a quarter or two to have more clarity how the business is panning out. As of now, my take would be a hold.
Our next viewer query is from Santi on Amara Raja Batteries, saying that the stock has fallen from the recent highs of 775 rupees per share. Wants to know, as per technicals, is there any chance that this particular stock will go back to its recent high levels? Shanti is holding about 100 shares of Amara Raja Batteries, which is bought at 745 rupees per share. Is it good to sell at 770 to 775 rupees per share levels and buy again at lower levels, is what Shanti is asking on Amara Raja Batteries. Kunal, what's your take coming in on Amara Raja? Any scope of this going to its recent high levels, and or should Shanti go ahead and sell this at the levels that was indicated?
See, I think largely what I believe that the stock would remain in a range. I think what the stock is now trying to grapple through is grapple through a bit of a range bound action closer to 720 is where I believe that there are some strong supports emerging for Amara Raja Battery. But at the same time, I think there are a lot of resistances around this 850 mark for the stock. The 50-day moving average, for example, is at 800 levels. The 200-day moving average is approximately 840, 839 levels. So this could be a band of stiff resistance for the stock. And so I would largely believe that the stock would remain in a range. If you're looking to exit, the stock, then I believe a better exit point would be closer to that 800 mark or 840 range. I think that would be a better exit range for Amara Raja Battery, because I sense that the stock would remain more or less in a consolidation for at least over the near term.
Another question coming your way, Kunal, and this one is from Jay Kishan on YouTube. He's asking about ICICI Lombard General Insurance, bought at levels of 1,453, which, as I see, is not too far away from the current price. What is the outlook for the next 6 months, though?
I think it's been a decent kind of a stock. The sector overall has been buzzing quite strongly. ICICI, Lombard apparently has just about gone through a bit of a rough patch of consolidation over the last couple of months. But over the last 6, 7 or 8 months odd, the stock seems to have done reasonably well for itself, rising up from almost those 1,100 levels to 1,600 levels, which it tested a couple of months back. And from there on, it's just gone to a consolidation. So it's been a good chart. The stock is going through a stable price consolidation, which is very natural in terms of the price rally. So after the steep rally, these stocks, they go through a time-wise correction, price-wise correction, and then once the rally begins, these stocks, they restart a longer-term uptrend. So if time is not a constraint for you, then, and if you can hold on to your investments over the medium term to long term, then I believe you should stay put on ICICI Lombard.
All right, the next query that we've got is from Tarun Gambhir. He's saying that he has 1,000 shares of DEN Networks that he's purchased at 52.86 rupees per share. He wants to know when should he go ahead and book his profits. Kunal, what's your take coming in on DEN Networks? And when should Tarun book profits? He's bought it at 52.86 rupees per share.
Frankly, I don't track the stock that often, Cheryl, but then I was just looking at the charts, and very, very recently is where the stock in the last 2 months specifically is where the stock has found some bit of momentum coming in for itself. The volumes have improved significantly for DEN Networks. The average volume over the last 3-4 months have been almost 10 times to 12 times of the average volumes over the past 7-8 months prior to that, which means that there has been a strong accumulation for the stock. But frankly, these are the kind of names which tend to do very well when the markets are into a very buoyant and a very strong kind of a mode. The moment markets goes into a consolidation, or if there is any whiff of a correction, these are the stocks which will come back to hit their previous swing low. So I think it's better to be more trading perspective oriented into stocks like DEN Networks, and I would suggest that you can probably book your gains closer to 60-65 territories. That's a good enough profit from a short term perspective on a stock like DEN Network.
Okay, we've got a question coming in from Padma, and this is on Britannia. She's bought at levels of 3,500. Saurabh, this one's for you. Bought 100 shares. She's wondering whether to hold on for gains in the space. She has a perspective for at least a year, or should she switch to another FMCG company?
I think this is the good company to hold. They have a large bouquet of variety. They are launching newer products in the different segment. They're reaching to the new geographies, and I think the company does hold promises for the future growth. I mean, you can stay put with your investment for a time horizon for 1 year.
All right, the next query is coming in from Sagar, and he wants a technical view on Nesco. He's saying he's bought 100 shares at the range of around 450 rupees per share. He wants to know whether he can go ahead and increase his holding in Nesco, and he wants to know whether he can add more at the current market price. Kunal, what's your take coming in on Nesco? Does it make sense for Sagar to increase holding, and can he buy more at current market price?
Well, he can look to buy more at current market price. I think it's an okay chart. It's just bouncing back from its 200 moving average. I think the last week or so, 540 levels was where the stock actually bounced off from. So it seems to be a good chart, developing quite well. Longer term charts have also been quite strong. I think if this consolidation of this trend continues for Nesco, then I think the near term target for the stock could be around this 620, 640 kind of a territory, which is also the last 5-6 month high for the stock. So I would suggest that if you have bought it at lower levels, you can stay put and you can look out for targets of at least 600 plus. So 620, 640 precisely could be a near term target range for the stock.
All right, the IT majors are in focus in today's session, and Infosys gaining ground as well. We've got Krishna Kumar, who's bought 100 shares of Infosys at levels of 680. He says that he's a long-term investor and he's wondering what the view is for the next 5 years. Sort of a lot can change in this space from the 5-year perspective. Would you bet on Infosys though? Would you hold on to, and he says he's got 100 shares, which is quite a substantial holding.
I think the pandemic has only changed fortunes for the Indian IT sector company. They have been taking advantage of this pandemic. The company opting for the digital techniques, the revenue pipeline, the deal order wins. For all the big majors, Indian companies have been good. They have been able to maintain their margins. Of late, there have been some corrections in their margins because of the wage hike and some costs pertaining to the expansion they are doing. But in the future, I expect that they would be going good with the kind of deal pipeline they have, and the digitization. The activity which is happening, and the companies are actually ready. So my take would be very positive for the next 5 years on the Indian IT companies and on the Infosys. My take would be hold.
All right, the next query is coming from Ritesh Garg, and he's saying that he has Adani Port 1700 June call. He bought it when the breakout appeared at around 858 rupees levels. He wants to know whether he should continue to hold on to it. Kunal, Adani Port 1700 June call. What should Ritesh do?
There could be a bit of a goof up because I think Adani Ports is at 800 or 900 rupees. So the out of the money strike could be approximately it's about 20% plus or minus the current market price. My sense is that the viewer is asking about Adani Enterprise because that stock is at 1600 levels, and I would sense that if it's specifically to the Adani Enterprise, then I think it's time that you try and look out to maybe trying to exit the trade so you can I think you can look out. I'm not sure of the exact cost price and the current market price of the 1700 call option if it's Adani Enterprise, but I think specifically for that option I would suggest that you should look to exit. These are very tricky kind of names because you will probably see stocks like Adani Enterprise do very well for a period of 4-5 days, but then there is this possibility that the stock may remain sideways for at least 4-5 days. Now, when you try and buy out of the money call option after a steep run up of almost 15-20% or more in a very short span of time, the amount of juice left on the upside is very, very restricted because the stock has to perform equally stronger in the remaining 4-5 days. Now, that could be a bit of a stretch for stocks like Adani Enterprise. So I would suggest that you should look out for an exit strategy on the same.
And like you've said in the past, Kunal, to be careful out of the on these out of the money trades that people take up. Just coming back to you on another short-term trade, we've got Pooja was asking about Tata Motors. She's bought at a price of 313 and she's looking for a short-term view. What can you tell her?
I think from a short-term view, Tata Motors looks attractive. I would suggest 355 apparently as a potential target for a very, very near term. I think the auto stocks are looking quite strong, and this time formidably. You have formidable large cap names rather, like Maruti and the Bajaj Autos, etc., which are now leading the charge from the front. And Tata Motors is also playing second fiddle quite well, in itself. So I think the auto pack is going through a more of a restriction mode. And I would sense that there should be more room on the upside from a near term. But frankly, I believe Tata Motors is one stock which you should have as a part of your core portfolio as well. And you should look at it from a more of a longer term view because the rally which has started for Tata Motors over the last 8-9 months, I think if that rally is something to go by, then the prospects over the next 2-3 years are quite very, very strong for a stock like Tata Motors. So again, it depends on the time frame. If it's short term, then I would suggest 355 is a potential target. But if you can extend your time horizon on the longer term side, I think much more gains on the upside could probably be a possible trade for Tata Motors.
All right, our next query is coming in from Ankit. He wants the long-term as well as short-term view on HDFC AMC. But this one, I'll come to you, Saurabh. What's your view coming in on HDFC AMC? How does it look over the longer term?
I think the longer term future looks quite optimistic. The way the mutual fund industry is getting the AUM with the rise in the equity markets, the participation is ever increasing, and the being one of the largest AMC available, and the schemes also performs equally good. I mean, the HDFC AMC does hold top performing schemes, and the money continues to come in the mutual fund sector. So I think the AMC business would continue to shine and holds promise for the future. My take would be gold.
All right, we've got a question coming in from Peyton, and I'm hoping I'm getting your name right. The question is short to medium term view on Chambal Fertilizers. So I'm going to go across to you, Kunal, on this one. Would you suggest a fresh entry?
Not at this price, but if the stock happens to correct to say 260, 265, then from a shorter term view, it makes sense because what happens is after a rally, there has to be some sort of a correction, and a correction through some series of retracements which have to get completed for the stock to complete that correction. Now, for example, Chambal Fertilizers in the last 2 months from the May bottoms, I think from 220, 225, rallied up to 300 levels, and the stock is still at those 285, 290 zone as a pivot. So for the correction to pan out, it has to be at least a 10% correction from its previous swing highs, and that could land up to almost 265, 270 kind of a territory for a stock like Chambal Fertilizer. So I would suggest that if the stock comes back to that kind of a territory, then it would make a good sense to go for a contra bet, and then expecting at least a 10 to 15% upside in the very near term post that.
Saurabh, I apologize. We've got so many viewers that are asking short-term queries, so I'm going to have to come back to you in a bit. Sherry is asking for a view, Kunal, on Grasim. How is it looking on the charts for a short-term buy?
Looks attractive. Grasim has been one of the few stocks which has been more of a steady and a stable stock. I think it's been holding on to those ranges quite strongly. So earlier it was into a range of 1200 to 1400. Then those range got shifted higher to 1500, and now it's moving up gradually from 1500 to 1600 kind of a territory in terms of range shift. So I think it's a classical stock. Looks attractive, and if you're in from a near-term view, near to medium term, then I think you can probably look at a upside of almost 100 rupees higher, which should take the stock back towards this new range of 1400 to 1600.
Okay, just to make sure that I don't take only names that are unique, I'm going to take Abhishek, and I have a lot of friends called Abhishek. Abhishek Ray is asking a question on Astra Microwave. Coming to you on this one, Saurabh, he's asking whether you would get into this stock.
I think if you look at the numbers of the company, there has been some kind of a compression in the margin. The profitability doesn't look very encouraging at this point in time. I think you have to wait for a quarter or two and look for the management, how they guide for the future growth, because the business is quite good, but the company is not able to fetch good margins in the profitability. So as of now, my take would be a bit negative.
Okay, we've got Balan, who's got 400 shares of Schneider Electric at 131 and 1,000 of Vakrangi. This is, I guess, is a question for you, Kunal. Would you switch out of Vakrangi into Schneider?
Well, absolutely. If it's specifically between these two names or as a choice, then I would definitely look out to switch from Vakrangi to Schneider. I think that's a much more better chart, formidable name, stock looking attractive. Done, I think from last 6 months or 8 months, from those March 2020 lows, apparently the stock seems to have doubled up from those 60 levels to 125, 130 range where the stock is trading right now. So it looks very attractive on the medium term charts, and specifically, as I said, compared to Vakrangi, I think it's a much more formidable name.
Okay. We've got a question on HDFC AMC, and the question is from Ankit. Kunal, back to you on this one. Short-term view, is there a new breakout for this counter that is on the cards on the charts?
Absolutely. In fact, the one of the names which I've highlighted, on previous shows, on the channel itself, have been NAM India, Nippon Asset Management. What has happened is, the entire AMC stocks like HDFC, AMC, and NAM India, etc. These are the ones which have given a fresh breakout on the short-term charts. And if you look at it, HDFC, AMC consolidated for 4 months, 5 months on a trot, trying to consolidate at the 3,000 mark pivot range. And finally, that breakout has happened. This could be a breakout of almost, I would sense, closer to 600 to 700 rupees on HDFC AMC. So possibility is very, very high that this stock and the sector overall could probably be one of the few sectors or the highs or the 52-week highs, as the case may be.
Okay, Saurabh, just want to get your view on, if I'm not mistaken, you just said Berger Paints is one of your picks, right? When we spoke about building materials. What do you have to say about Asian Paints? Raghupati wants to know, he's holding 110 shares. I do not know what price he bought at, but he's asking if he can buy more at current prices.
I think these are the companies which makes which create wealth, and if you hold for a long term, I think the money is likely to be made. With the opening up of the economy, the real estate sector, the home improvement, things are looking quite bright in the next few quarters, and there was some kind of a pressure on the margins because of the higher cost. But I am sure, being the leader in the market, these companies will be able to would be able to jack up their prices. In fact, fewer price hikes were taken in the past also. So I am quite optimistic on the decorative, since the proportion of the industrial segment is a bit high in the Asian Paint, and this may take a bit longer, but I think it is a matter of quarter or two, and the things will turn better for these companies. I will remain optimistic.
This next question is on Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, and Pavan Kumar is asking a specific question to you, Kunal. He's asking, so he's holding a 5500 June call, and he's wondering whether to hold on and whether it can show a rally from here.
So the second part of the question, that whether the stock can rally, yes, I believe that the stock has those right set of chart parameters and ingredients to try and rally from current levels. 5,200 is where the stock is currently trading, and I think I would probably expect a breakout around that 5,500 mark, which is apparently the previous resistance for the stock. And once that is taken out, I believe that the next set of targets for Dr. Reddy should be in the tune of 6,000 plus levels. So it seems to be a good prospect, and specifically at current levels of 5,200, the risk reward is also very attractive. So the stock is retraced back from the near-term resistance, and which is why I believe that the risk reward could be in favor for initiating fresh longs on Dr. Reddy.
Coming back to you, Kunal, L&T Infotech, 50 shares bought at 2,750 by Shanmuga. Can Shanmuga hold on for 6 months?
So it looks attractive. In fact, L&T Infotech was one of the stocks which I recommended just on the chart buster segment as well. Looks very attractive on the charts because it's forming an inverse head and shoulder pattern which is spread across the last 2 months. The pattern height is almost 300 points for L&T Infotech. So if that is something to go by, then you could be looking at maybe a 4,200, 4,300 kind of a potential target range. So I would definitely advise a hold. And it was, as I said earlier, it was just one of my few recommendations which I mentioned in the previous show as well.
Saurabh, we've spoken about this unlock theme, even I think, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday. We've got Dhruv, who's currently asking several times to take this, so I'm going to do that. Lemon Tree and SpiceJet in the medium term. Would you bet on this?
I don't think so. I mean, the recovery which we will see because of the unlock trade is more like a K shape. I mean, there are some industries which would continue to be, remain on the back footing, and those industries are like aviation, tourism, maybe multiplexes. These industries will take a lot of a time till the normalcy return. There is a good amount of fear in the mindset. I mean, people will not roam around. There is a huge drop in the corporate travel. People are not looking for some kind of a vacation and all. I don't think so that will happen in the near future, because there is always a fear of third wave. So I don't think so future fortunes will change for the aviation and tourism sector. I think there are a lot more trade good ideas in different sectors which you can bet upon, maybe from the space, from the real estate, or maybe construction, infrastructure activity. So these are the things. Banking may be a good thing which can play out well in the current environment.
Coming back to you, Saurabh, this is now a Twitter query that we've gotten. This is from Jash Shah on Rupa. Bought at levels of 329, so making a healthy profit at this juncture. Would you hold on though?
I think it is a closely held company. The company surprised on a positive note. The kind of results they have posted, I mean, the results were astonishingly good. They have posted good revenue growth, and the margins also expanded. The bottom line too got expanded, and we have seen a good amount of run up. Since the future still holds potential, I would recommend a partial profit booking at this point in time.
I want to go to Kunal. Kunal, we've got Anup who's asking about Thyrocare, bought at levels of 1,047. Would you hold this for 3 months, and what would your target for that time frame be?
Yeah, you can hold on for 3 months, but I would sense that it's a very slow and steady stock. It's just about picked up some pace in the last 1 week or 10 days odd. So it looks attractive from a near-term view. 3 months, I'm not sure, because it could be a bit skiddy, because the stock may go through a rally and consolidate for some more time. But if you're in from a longer term haul, and I think from that I mean at least a time frame of 9 months, 12 months plus, I believe that strong gains and upside could be seen on stock like Thyrocare. It's done fantastically well, I think, in 2020, risen up from 420 levels to 1200, then went through a correction, and it's now coming back towards ending this correction. So near term wise, maybe a 1150, 1200 target range for Thyrocare, but I think beyond that 1200 mark is where I believe that a much bigger trend could evolve for the stock.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think InfoEdge is done yet, and we've got Shivkumar who's asking for a view on InfoEdge. Saurabh, I'm going to come across to you on this one. Would you buy this counter? It's got so many businesses that are interesting, right? And value unlocking is something that is always a possibility. A quick answer here, though.
I think it's a good stock to hold. The value unlocking is coming in the name of Zomato. The company has planned for that IPO, and they'll be able to make good amount of that.
Okay, I want to come to you now, Kunal, on your high risk and low risk ideas. What do you have for us?
Buy calls specifically on mid cap names. First one is a bond Raymond. The stock heading towards a breakout. I had mentioned the stock in the morning show as well. So would suggest the bond Raymond even from current levels, targets of 450 on the upside, and stop loss could be trailed to almost 405. The second stock is from the pharma pack. It's a buy on Sun Pharma Advance. The NSE code for that is SPARC, and I would sense that the stock is heading towards a flag pattern breakout on the daily chart. So would suggest the buy on SPARC as well, targets of 266 and stop loss at 237.
Coming to you on this one, Saurabh, what are your high risk and low risk ideas for us?
Both would be low risk ideas. First pick would be DLF from the real estate sector. The company has booked, in the last quarter, the company has done a good amount of new sales. They have been consistently reducing debt. It is a good brand name in the industry available, and the outlook on the rental business is also good. And they are planning to come out with lead for their rental business in the next 12 months. So I am quite optimistic on this company. The target we are looking at approximately 345. The second stock I would be recommending is the Kenfin Homes. If you look at the net interest margin, they are in the upward trajectory. The company has been consistently on their cost of funds with lower NPAs. The kind of guidance the company has given is both on the disbursement and the AUM is close to middle double digit. I mean, 15-17% kind of growth will easily witness, and the price target we are having on the stock is approximately 640.
Okay, on that note, I'd like to thank you both gentlemen for taking the time and for answering the flurry of questions that we got over the course of the last 25 minutes or so. And to all those of you who've joined in on social media and haven't gotten your questions answered today, we'll be back tomorrow at the same time, 11:15, and we'll start taking queries at that time. Thank you so much once again, Kunal as well as Saurabh. We're slipping into a short break now. We'll be back on the other side with a lot more.